So last video for the week, I promise. And if you got through the last one where I talked a lot about Team Fortress 2, then God bless you and thank you. But I didn't want to leave our discussion of the word logic with some vague story of playing Pyro in Team Fortress 2. At least I've got some standards. But so, okay, the word logic obviously is a noun. There's no verb form of the word, I think, really. But there's certainly an adjectival form, an adjective form. I mean, we use that all the time. And sometimes it's a word of praise. Yes, very logical. Good job. And sometimes it's a neutral descriptive term. You I mean, if you know that it will probably rain and you carry an umbrella with you, that's logical. If you don't wear a coat, even though you know that the temperature is going to drop, let's say drop a lot, that would be illogical, wouldn't it? Another adjective. And here, these are perfectly good, even though they're looser uses of the word, because we're not talking here about statements, but rather actions. Perfectly good usage of the word logical to describe, carrying an umbrella when you know that it's going to rain. And perfectly good usage of the word illogical if you don't wear a coat, even though that the temperature is going to drop and it's going to get really cold. We can connect this up with statements. I mean, that's illogical, right? Because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premise. The second statement really shouldn't have, therefore, no. It's just illogical to think that Jim's happy if we know that he's always sad. That I would say is logical. Right? Or that is, if Jim is a baseball fan and Jim lives in the city of Philadelphia, Jim probably roots for the Phillies because they're the local team. Now, do I know absolutely for sure? Does it follow with deductive validity that he does? No. But it's logical to think that if Jim's a baseball fan and he lives in Philadelphia, that he probably roots for the Phillies. It would need to be a logical thing to conclude. So we often use the word logical as a word of praise in saying that somebody has reasoned well. Hey, that's very logical of you. You've actually made a valid inference, right? You've seen that one thing actually does imply another thing correctly. When you're illogical, that's when you act or have beliefs that don't follow from other things that you know are true. Right? say that we know these two things about Jim, that he thinks Obamacare is a good idea, and that he has a lot of sympathy for undocumented immigrants in America. If we find out that Jim voted for Trump, then we really wonder where Jim's head is, because that's illogical, because Trump has promised to get rid of Obamacare and to deport all undocumented immigrants. So if he has a lot of sympathy for undocumented immigrants and he thinks Obamacare is a good idea, voting for Trump is just illogical, because Trump has promised to get rid of Obamacare and to deport as many undocumented immigrants as he can find. That is, his actions are illogical, or you might say irrational, in the sense that his actions are not ones that would be implied by his beliefs. Or if we just take action out of it, I mean, it's just irrational to think Trump would make a good president if you like Obamacare and you have sympathy for undocumented immigrants, because it would be more logical to have voted for Clinton. But that's what Jim did. I think Jim lives in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. In any case, being logical is a word of praise. It's a way to describe somebody positively, to say that they've been thinking clearly. And what does that mean? That their actions and beliefs are compatible with their other actions and beliefs. Oftentimes, when we say that somebody's illogical, we've pointed out a contradiction in their beliefs. And certainly thinking Trump would make a good president seems to contradict Jim's other beliefs about Obamacare and undocumented immigrants. Whereas it at least is not a contradiction to think that Jim probably roots for the Phillies if he's a baseball fan and lives in Philadelphia. In fact, those other two statements seem to strongly imply that he roots for the Phillies, but they don't for sure. He could be a secret Mets fan, and he should keep that secret if he's in Philadelphia. But he probably roots for the Phillies. It would not be illogical to conclude that he probably roots for the Phillies. In fact, it would be very logical. It might be illogical to conclude that he definitely, without a doubt, roots for the Phillies. That would be too strong, but it would certainly be logical to conclude that he does root for the Phillies. Whereas Jim's thinking Trump would make a good president is just illogical. So sometimes certainly we use those words to praise or to criticize people's thinking as being logical or illogical. But I did say that there is a more neutral use of the word logical. And now I'm going to make a liar out of myself and make one more video just about that.